Hello, everybody. It's good to see Cal State Long Beach again. Yes, hola from Spain. I'm going to begin the presentation now, but I have a few disclaimers just to kick things off. So, first of all, this is a pretty serious topic, and you have to make these decisions very carefully. So, this is for you to learn a really broad view of the topic. Don't make any decisions without talking to a lawyer or an accountant or, maybe a partner because it's really serious stuff. And I may get something wrong, okay? So just putting that out there first and foremost, okay? And then it's actually 4 a.m. for me, so please be nice to me, and I'm getting through this in a way that feels like a dream, sort of, but kindness would be appreciated. And why am I doing this? I do feel like knowledge is power. I think a lot of us do. That's why we went to university and want to study in such a serious program. Bachelor of Science Industrial Design is really intense, in my opinion. One of the more intense degrees I have seen. Maybe not as much as like mathematics, like heavy mathematics courses or physics, but it's really up there. And I will not be discussing politics tonight. This is purely informational about immigration, okay? And here's an outline of what we're going to be talking about. Me, who am I, and who are you? My path, I'll kind of cover that a little bit. It's a little fun stuff. Snippets of life abroad, benefits and drawbacks of living abroad, cost of living, strategies, and then experts and resources to help you. And then I do have some little morsels in there to kind of keep you awake. Okay, so who am I? You're thinking, you don't know who I am. Why am I telling you about what you should do or what you can do? Who am I? So a brief interview or overview of me. So on the left, you can see my papi and abuela, or abuela and abuelo, which are my grandparents, and they pretty much raised me. And they were refugees from Cuba. So I was always raised with more of like a global mindset. And I am also a Long Beach native. Here I am with my boyfriend. There's like there was a Sublime mural. I don't know if it's still there. And then I am class of 2015, Cal State Long Beach, industrial design. And I also left the United States during COVID. I went to study, get my master's abroad. And I thought, why not? The world has stopped. Why not do something useful during that time? So, yeah, I went to England. And then I've been abroad ever since. So I've bounced around countries a few times and can share a little bit how that works. So that's why I'm talking to you about it. Who are you? Okay, this is a mirror. This is supposed to be a mirror. We can't do that yet on the screen, but who are you? You're creative. First of all, you're going to be creative if you're in this program, and you're going to be very intelligent too. The people that I met at Cal State Long Beach in the design programs were some of the most intelligent people I've met. I don't think there's anyone dumber than any of the CEOs I've ever met in the program. So I really believe in yourself there. You're innovative, you're curious, you're methodical, you're organized, you're driven, and you're potentially early in your career or you're switching careers as well. And you're here to learn about emigrating. And also, I think this is a good time to know I do think the program should be a master's program. You definitely learn enough in it for it to be. So hopefully that happens one day for you guys. And this is a theme that I gave for tonight. I'm not going to read it. You've already read it, but I am going to highlight some things about it that it's why I said it. So this is what I meant. So being a creative is a strength in going abroad. People might make you think that it's better if you're like an accountant or doctor or financial expert, but actually I think it's the complete opposite. I think you have a lot more opportunities as a creative, and you have a lot more room to redefine yourself and your career as a creative as well. And so you'll have a lot more visas open to you than people who need accreditations or special degrees that are usually local to the country they practice in. So that is dead wrong. And you have a lot of room there. Professionals, there are professionals that you're going to want to hire. We'll talk about them later, but you have to know when it's okay to ask for help. And yeah, you will need help because you're going to a new country. It's going to be completely different than what you're used to. And then this sentence, it is not simple, but it is definitely possible. Okay. I've met all types of people that immigrate at different points of their life in any stage, parents, people retiring, people starting a career, starting a business. So we'll talk about that as well. What do I do? That's probably important for you guys. So I'll talk about my previous jobs, but my current job is I'm a toy designer. So I consult with people who basically work at Comic-Con. For real, yeah. Like actually, this is a really good career to have because especially during economic downturns, everybody always wants a really cozy teddy bear to cuddle with. So it is a good career for people who are considering toys. I do recommend it. And you can always message me after and we can talk about it. And here's some of what I do. Oh, one of the pictures did not load. But yeah, it's basically what we do is we take the people from Artist Alley, if you're familiar with that, and we help them grow into international businesses. And these are two of my clients. There's another that's coming soon that we haven't publicly announced, but you've probably seen at least the bears in GIFs. They're really popular in Facebook and WhatsApp and Giphy in general. And they have, they're like TikTok famous or something, I guess. I don't know. My path, just an overview, but these are different countries and places that I lived during my life. And then here's a more in-depth view. So I studied abroad in Seoul twice. I liked it so much I went back and I studied at Hongik with my friend Grace, who's here in the chat. And it was an amazing experience both times. Studying abroad is awesome. I do recommend you do it if you're interested. Just go for it. It's one of the best things I think I've ever done. Undergrad beginnings, I was in LAOC all around, working on all of these or with and at all of these businesses. And that was really fun, really exciting. The toy industry is full of really fun people who really are lighthearted. They're kids at heart, but they're nerdy too. So we get along. And then during COVID, of course, I said that I went to London for grad school. I got my MA in creative direction there. They call it design for art direction, but no one really knows what that means. So we just call it creative direction. And then I worked in XR in London after that. That was really interesting, made some awesome friends. And then I went to Iceland, to Northern Iceland. And it was extremely cold, as you can imagine. And also just very beautiful and calming and extreme. And yeah, it was really awesome. And yeah, for the past 2 years, I've owned a business technically, but it's a little different here how that works. You don't have to do so much paperwork like in the US. You can, like in England, for example, you can just start a business in like 10 minutes online. And I think it costs $90, I guess it would be. I'm not sure of the exchange rate. And then now I will show images of my past lives in different countries and cities. So I didn't have a lot of LA and Orange County. Back then, like we took pictures on Instagram of like stuff, like the waves at the beach. Like we didn't really take as much like pictures of each other or like our lives, really, like the whole scene. It was really like kind of zoomed in. It was like an art style. But these are some of the little snippets of my life. So yeah, here's me at my senior show. And then this is my, I think, portfolio show or junior show. Me going to Comic-Con as a professional 1 year. Some of my friends in design. This is me. I don't know if David Lee is still there, but this is me in David Lee's class. I'm getting yelled at. Probably. And then I was also in a sorority. I think I was the first industrial designer to be in a sorority. And I don't know if anyone has ever been in one since. But that was only a year. I wanted to prioritize design, so I dropped out. But it was really interesting. Next, I went to Seoul. And I have a slide from Seoul because, sort of similarly, we didn't take as much content back then, no videos or pictures, and it would be lost anyways. This was more than a decade ago. But here we have various different campus sites. This was at Hongik. It was like oh, can I zoom? Oh, cool. It was like a sort of a modern take on a traditional form. And this was at my other campus. They definitely like had beautiful things all over the place. It was very well designed, I think. Um, I did a temple stay, and I got second place in the study abroad photography contest with, I couldn't find the original, but a picture that was taken like shortly after this. This is a highway that they turned into this beautiful waterway parkway in Seoul, which is great in the summer. You can see people playing in the water. So it's sort of like an urban design win for Seoul. Gyeongbokgung Palace, I believe. Some of my friends from the first time around. And I think this was like 2013 when I took this picture. I don't think we had public like outdoor libraries yet, but they were doing that in Korea, which I thought was really cool. So I took a picture. And here's me with some monks at the temple again. Yeah, okay. And then it's not showing up for you guys for some reason. But this is the Imagineering logo because now we're going to talk about Disney when I worked at Disney. So, yeah, for a year and a half until COVID, unfortunately, I got to work in Imagineering. I was an Imagineer. And these are some little pics that I'm probably not supposed to show you. Don't tell anyone. But we have this is my team here in the model shop. I worked in the model shop. So when you're watching the Imagineering story, I don't know if it's in the intro. This is a show on Disney Plus. I don't know if it's the intro or just like when they start the show, but you can see my office door because they do this like rolling zoom clip into the model shop, and my door is like to the left. But this is my team, some secret pics I snapped. And then this is cool. This was like they shut the park down for us one day a year or a few times, but this time it was it's called Minnie's Moonlit Madness, and it's a tradition where it's a scavenger hunt, and you join a team. And I don't know if you can see on one of my friends, but we were all tied together. They tied you together so that you couldn't like spread out and accomplish tasks independently. Like you had to work together. And then some of these people, you see them like on the Instagram, and they might be in the Imagineering story as well. I'm not sure, but these guys are always on the Instagram. This guy Steven, he's a ZBrush like influencer. So you may have seen him if you learn ZBrush on Instagram or TikTok. And that's Tyler. He was my bestie. All right, I don't want to get too granular here. And you probably want to say, what did you learn? Is it Star Wars? Or what did you do? Is it Star Wars? And unfortunately, I can't exactly show you what I did, but I can show you something else that I did while there. So while I was in Imagineering, everyone is always encouraged to have a side project and just like work on your other skills that your current role or your current assignment isn't one that you're practicing. So this is an ornament that I made, and I decided to do the Coco skull in 3D. And it was for this other tradition they have in the model shop and Imagineering, where people form groups and you make ornaments for each other for Christmas, and it's a secret, it's a surprise. So I don't know if the other people wanted me to show theirs, but this is mine at least. I 3D printed it, and then I got one of those like Geppetto in Pinocchio has that thing that like goes on his eyes that like you have to like zoom in. I had to buy one of those with like a light on my head so I could paint this with like toothpicks. It was way too small. And then this is a chair that I was working on right in January of 2020. And it was for the Rapunzel ride. So I was going to paint that lantern scene here on the back. But I left it in the office when we started to work remotely, and they sent you everything from your desk, and they did not send this chair back. So it's just in Imagineering forever. I guess I've accidentally worked on something for free for them. And it maybe they made it full size and it went to the park. Who knows? But I don't think we'll ever know what happened there. This is what it looked like every day at work for me. So this is some of the software we use. We 3D scanned things, which some of you might still do. We did that a little bit at Cal State Long Beach back in my day. This and this are from Navisworks or BIM, which is a project management like collaboration tool for theme parks or architecture or just like big projects like a shopping mall. They would use something like this. This is an area map, and we always had these printed out with like notes on them up on our wall. I There aren't a lot of pictures of the campus because you get in a lot of trouble if you take them. So this is what the campus kind of looked like. I'm pretty sure that's a rendering or something. It's just like a random campus, but someone did take this picture, and that's from the internet somewhere. We also had models all over the place collecting dust. They were fun to look at though. And this, I actually feel like I recognize that guy. But yeah, these are some robotics or animatronics R&D people. Okay, what did I work on? I can show you after the fact, like because actually the park opened. So it was basically an expansion of Tokyo Disney Sea. Uh, you can see right here, this is the new area and a little map that shows like the different sections within. There's Rapunzel, Frozen, and Peter Pan. And then the hotel, which is a lot more architecture. So we didn't really do much there. And I was technically assigned to the Rockwork team at the time. So I sculpted all these characters and all of like the nature or any walls, anything that was like, they called it, oh, what did they call it? Something like set design. So we basically like made it feel like you were immersed, and we had really interesting views in Rhino because we worked in Rhino a bit. We used 9 or 10 softwares, I forget, but Rhino is one of them. And we would use this, someone made some formula where you could like check that no like beams or structures or anything were visible by anyone going to the park, because this is part of the experience. You don't want to see the outside world. You want to be fully immersed. So that's another big part of our job as well. And then here's some more stuff I worked on. I pretty much sculpted the whole park. We all did. Everyone, we sculpted it over and over in different sizes and at different resolutions for different purposes. So I've worked on all of this. This guy was like a big deal. I forget the exact reason, but I had to work on him a lot. And it's funny because my boyfriend's name is actually Olaf as well. So I worked on Olaf for like a month here at Disney, and then I dated an Olaf when I got to here. It's almost like I manifested it. If you want to see the whole park, just go to Tokyo. Very easy, right? Or you can watch one of these many walkthroughs of Disney influencers who go and review the park and check everything out. I still haven't been. It's been open a year and I haven't made it. It's, it's kind of a big ticket, and you need like, I feel like I wouldn't go to Japan without like a month because it's so big and there's so much to see. But anyways, check it out. All right, moving on to London. I'm going to go a little faster. I don't want to keep dragging on about my past. I went during the pandemic, so it was really empty. A lot of people moved away because London is like kind of like a commuter city where people go and they like make it big, kind of like New York. And I had a little bubble, and this is a funny picture that I found of what that looked like. The bubble was what the British government called like your safe group, where you knew what each other were doing so that you could like all be safe together and not have someone going out and catching COVID and giving it to you. So we were all just staying in our building. And we had a party one night because we were bored. Okay. So we went in the basement, and this is the laundry room, and we're like having drinks. Someone snapped this picture of me and this guy having drinks in the laundry room. Oh, I don't know if I was there. It's orange juice. It's orange juice. It's non-alcoholic. I don't know what I can say on this. And then yeah, it was really beautiful, really amazing. And we'll talk about London more. Oh yeah, I forgot I had more London slides. Some of my friends, different adventures. This was my neighborhood at one point, which was cool. This is a midsummer celebration, which is Swedish, but they do celebrate it in London in think it's Hyde Park. And then this is a graduation picture with Jade and Sarah, two of my best friends who are from, oh God, Sarah's gonna kill me. She is French. She's definitely from Paris. And then she is from Slovenia. That is where she's from. And this is Big Ben in the background in our graduation pic, which was a pretty interesting graduation pic to have. And more UK stuff. I did in my course, there were a lot of art director people, so a lot of fashion people. And so I did get to do a shoot with Dior, which was cool. And I did the set design, which in 2 days I had to build this like really interesting contraption here. And it just looks like a rectangle, but I promise you, without a car in central London, it's a nightmare to build something like that in, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. But I got it done and I got Dior in my list of companies I've worked with. So that was really cool. And then this is my engineering team that I worked with at the XR firm. Of course, we were the Harry Potter characters for Halloween one year. And this is in a pub that looks like you're in Harry Potter. So that was really interesting. And this is an art project I did. I don't really know what to say about this one yet. I feel like later you'll understand it better, but the programs that you do for your master's or whatever further degree you may study one day, I feel like I've always heard they shouldn't be the same thing you studied in undergrad, just so that you can broaden your deeper learning topics. I don't know if the professors agree with me, but I felt like I learned a lot in this course that I would never have learned in industrial design. And so this was a project I did where I basically just had a party. It was right when COVID was like the lockdowns were ending. And so I was just my excuse to throw a party outdoors. It was like a picnic, but everyone was making art. So I got people who were never artists and never did art in any point of their life to make art. And I just supplied all these materials for them to just see what they could do and come up with. And it was this big, like beautiful learning process. It was almost therapeutic for some people, I think, too. But yeah, these are some of the funny things that they made. A lot of people lit theirs on fire. I don't know if I should have supplied the torches, but anyway, this is my friend Taha being edgy. He wanted to say, this is art. It's my guts, And I was like, yeah, you're right. It is. So yeah, everyone made really interesting, fun stuff, and I think had a good time. All right, moving on. Iceland. Gonna be quicker here. This one was only a month. So I stayed at the very north, which is really close to the Arctic Circle. And for anyone worried about the volcanoes, this artist residency is so far away that it wouldn't affect it. And the type of volcano, I have a geologist in the family. The type of volcano that exists in Iceland is not an explosive type. It's more of just like what you've seen in the media, probably, where it's just like kind of like flowing lava. So nothing really to worry about there. It was a residency. I have never done one. I always considered myself an artist more than some designers, I think. And my partner is an engineer, and he was really hesitant at first. But when I explained the project to him, we did use, I think it's considered augmented reality. We used a scanner. Here it is, called the Connect, Azure Connect, and it is by Microsoft. It was invented for this game called Dance Dance Revolution. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but that was like what it got famous for. But actually, they use it a lot all over the world. Engineers use it for other purposes that aren't gaming. And it is a great device, but there are a lot of competing devices. We just wanted to use this one because he had worked on this at Microsoft. So he was comfortable coding with it. And here's me. I think I'm like doing something in ZBrush for the cameraman. I don't know. And then, yeah, it was a piece that was projected onto a giant house in the village. And it was interactive. It was sort of a game that we made. I think this is Unity right here. Which some of you may be familiar with. And you can see the scanner like scanning him here. So it does assign like little pieces of code to your different parts of your body so that it knows what you're doing. So the people could basically, it was called Aurora Flora, and they could play with the Aurora. That was something that no one had ever done before. And then they could also like use this Icelandic like stave, they're called. It's sort of a ritualistic thing from back in the day in Viking ages, to unlock secrets. And a fun tidbit. This is one of my little tidbits. Really cute design. I know I'm really good at fonts. I was taking pictures of the aurora one night and I caught a fireball. And they're not meteors, they're not shooting stars. They make a sound because there's something entering the Earth's atmosphere. And so I got on camera. I don't think anyone would have believed me that a shooting star made a sound. They probably thought I was nuts. But I got it on camera. And yeah, that was one of the craziest moments of your life where you just kind of fall down to the ground and you're just like, what is this? Okay, Spain, it's quick. I've just been working here, so I don't have a lot of like adventures yet. But it's, yeah, I live by this church, which is called the Sagrada Familia. It is beautiful. It's incredible what people can do when they put their mind to it. It is a testament to that. And this is my cat. This is me and Dan or Olaf. And going to the beach with friends. Yeah, I like Spain. Okay, now, why did I move abroad in the first place? Like, why am I even here? So, yes, I did talk about my Cuban relatives and the fact that I was raised with a global mindset. But part of that led to me studying abroad in Korea. So, who led me abroad is more of the question. And it's my first friends who were Dutch. And this is us very stereotypically in front of a windmill, Paulina and Sarani. And I don't know if anyone knows the Dutch, but they're known to be very direct people. So pretty early on they were my roommates. Pretty early on, like living together, they were like, "Hey, your country shit, right?" And I was just like, "Excuse me? Like that's really rude of you. What do you mean by that?" And we just got into a lot of topics about what is quality of life, what is education like, what is safety like. And the Netherlands is one of those places that's pretty pretty nice place to live in that way. The infrastructure there and the way citizens are supported is a lot different than the US, and I think a lot of people would say better. um, you can look into the details on that yourself, but those first people to get me really thinking about moving abroad permanently were Paulina Serrani and then Tayali, which Grace also knows. She was my roommate there. She was German. She is German, and or they are German. And she also, like, when I first walked in, I don't know if I had even been there 10 minutes. She said, or they said, I hate Americans and I'm going to ask to change rooms because I don't want an American roommate. I came to Korea to learn Korean and I need to practice that with someone, anyways. And then by the end, don't worry, we had so many like late discussions, late into the night, and fun adventures and really touching moments. And so by the end, they were crying when I was leaving and told me, I'm sorry what I said when I first met you. And I'm going to go to America now because I can see that American people are also really nice people, really cool people. And I'm going to miss you so much. So I was an ambassador to Germany in that moment, unpaid, but whatever. All right, positives and negatives. Okay. Here's some positives of living abroad. Yeah, free healthcare, guys. This is one of the main reasons I did move abroad as well. Is I, for some reason, get sick a lot. I don't know what's up with me, but I was always racking up medical bills in the US, and I think most people do. I think it's like 80% of Americans have medical bills. So yeah, here it's not free. Like we do pay with our taxes, just like Americans do, but then we get it without having to pay more. So I think in London, I paid like $900 a year for it. And even ambulances are free. I called the ambulance one time because I was having like heart palpitations. And it was so sad. It was like, it's like a stereotypical American moment where you're like, this is free, right? And they're like, oh dear, yes, it's free. Don't worry. And they like came and like took an EKG super quick and it was all fine. But yeah, healthcare is free and it's really, really good in many countries around the world. Um, More work-life balance. These people really do log off at 5 p.m. Yes, yes, it's true. So you can have more of a social life and you can take care of your family. You can take time off when you have a kid or if your child is sick as well when you're working. Um, there's a lot more respect for your life outside of work, outside of who you are at work. And then tons to do socially. It's really safe. The worst thing that I've ever seen here was just like a crazy man running around. But otherwise, I've never had experienced like a crazy crime here. Um, and in the US that was not the case. I'm from Long Beach, right? So like I unfortunately like I do know people that have passed away from like gang violence or gun violence. And I mean, growing up I would hear it every night. So I would hear guns just firing, and I didn't know what that was until I was older, of course. But yeah, it is so safe here. I have not heard a gun in 5 years, which I could have never said in Long Beach at the time in the 90s. Okay, I'm a little older. I think it's definitely safer now. More rights for work and living conditions, higher quality food, very cheap food. I'm gonna show you some cool stuff. And again, easy to start a business. In some countries, you can just start a business just on the internet. You just go, like, type it in, $90, $100, or whatever, and you have a business, and that's it. Cost of living is a lot better, I would say. You're not struggling to pay the bills. A lot of travel opportunities. It's cheap to travel outside of the US. I think for some reason the US is really expensive internally. Amazing cultures and friends and experiences from every corner of the earth. You learn so much about yourself, about other people, humanity, even your own country, being away from it, which is really interesting. And yeah, there's a potential for a student loan shelter, and there are tax benefits in some countries as well, like Dubai, for example, where you don't pay taxes. And then, yeah, friends also want to visit you. That's a really nice thing too, because if you always wanted to travel around with your friend abroad, now they're more likely to come do it with you. So you have all these friends coming with you and you can kind of show them around. Some negatives, they're what you think. It's basically what stops most people from moving abroad is missing your family, missing where you're from, like what you're used to. Um, Life on a visa is different. You have to be really careful. You can't even be adjacent to crimes, which growing up, I don't know, I feel like there were like a lot of shenanigans. Like in high school, for example. But yeah, you can't be anywhere near that because you're on a visa. You can't get in trouble, baby. They're going to kick you out. Okay. So it's very different, but it's not easy to live a really safe and calm life here as well. And then, yeah, Americans are not very popular at this point more than ever. You will be safe, but you're going to have to get used to people saying, oh my God, what is happening over there? What's going on? Especially taxi drivers, for some reason, they love to talk about that. I don't know, maybe it's like a taxi driver thing. And then bureaucracy as well. You don't even know bureaucracy. Bureaucracy has turned my hair white. I did not have gray hairs until I moved to Spain, which is very bureaucratic. You need a new paper and a new form and a new meeting for like every step of the way. I think to get my visa, it took like 200 emails or something, but small price to pay to live here for a few years. Okay, cost of living. Excuse me. This is interesting because you've probably heard that wages are a lot lower in Europe, but we will talk about the fact that it's actually more than proportionate to what is going on with rent and how much things cost and what you need to pay for. Like, you don't need a car here. Like, no one has a car unless you like to drive, or maybe you live out in the country a little bit, but more than likely you'll live in the city, and public transportation and intercity transportation is very affordable. A flight to another country here can be $20. So you don't need a car to do a road trip to go somewhere on a trip. And then also, of course, healthcare is given to you. So you don't need to pay that. And I remember that was when I was there, it was like $500 a month just for me. Um, so that's another thing. Here's two comparisons between left and right is the left are, I don't know what like a normal room price. I'm just showing rooms, not even entire apartments. But these are rooms in like areas that I lived in LA, and what their current price is. It says 1,100 to 1,500 or 1,800 even for downtown LA. I think that's more of a like posh place. Is that, I don't know, is that like normal for LA, do you guys think? Can I get like yeses or nos in the chats? It's higher. It's higher. Okay. Okay. Um, on the right is a really nice, posh central area of Barcelona. So I chose, this isn't even the cheapest area. This is like really central. It's called Eixample, and it's like the middle of the city where you can get anywhere within 20 minutes. Um, yeah, these are shared homes, your own room. 300, 400 is really typical for like one room in a shared place in the middle of the city. This one's a little painful, and I apologize, but I just want you guys to know what the difference in cost is. In the US, you're having basically you have exorbitant costs for groceries, I think is one of the main issues. This is my shopping cart. Me and my mom compared shopping carts. We both did a shopping cart for the same items in two different countries. One second. So there's 16 items, I believe. It totals what amounts to $43. And I think this is like 90s prices in the US. I feel like this is what things cost in the 90s, if I'm like remembering correctly. Okay. Then my mom did one. I don't know what app she used. You might recognize it. So it was $89. But wait, she actually forgot a few things. She forgot bread and wine, which the cheapest she could get was $12. So that's actually $107. But wait, a lot of those were the wrong size. So I asked her to get the cheapest things. And these prices here in red are adjusted for size difference. So, like, for example, for the coffee, I had a kilo of coffee in my shopping cart for, I think it was, let me go back. It was like 10, yeah, 10 euros, like $11. This one is like a third of that, I think, or even less. It's like the same thing as 30. And this is just Kroger brand stuff. I asked her to get the absolute cheapest stuff. That's $155 for the same shopping cart. Eggs are 6 a dozen. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on in Long Beach Kroger. But yeah, it's really painful to see how much you guys are paying. So if you imagine the salary, like that starting salary for a designer, 23, 25,000 versus 70,000, it actually kind of does work out. It's about, yeah, a quarter. It's a quarter of the price for the same groceries. Fun tidbit again. Let me see if the picture loaded. Yes. Okay. I saw, okay. I don't know what I can say here. It was a performance, an electronic music performance in a church. It was a 700-year-old church in England. That was really interesting. But it gets even more interesting because I saw someone really famous there. I don't know if you guys can recognize in the picture, but Jesus was there in the church. I don't know. I never expected Jesus to show up in a church, but lo and behold, he came to that music performance. So interesting London tidbit. All right, now we're going to talk about how you guys can do this. Let's move on. Strategies. What are the strategies to get abroad? First and foremost, visa is the thing that you'll need. And this is what a visa looks like. It's a page in your passport, essentially. And sometimes also you get a card as well that you carry around, like an ID card. There are many different types. There are so many countries in this world. I feel like in some countries you could ask the government nicely and they would give you the visa, like a certain kind. First, of course, you have work visas. And what I used to think growing up was and I think it has expanded recently. Visas have expanded, but it was either you worked there or you married someone from there. That were the only two reasons you could really like get somewhere new. But now there are so many. And I don't know if you've heard of brain drain is when people are from small towns and they go out to study after high school and they don't come back because their corporate job doesn't exist in their small town. This is the opposite of that. Governments have realized that actually you can make a visa to invite brain gain to your country. So other than sponsored jobs, which are probably the most difficult to get, I would say. There is a visa in many countries for job hunting. You don't even have to have a job. You can be literally looking for a job and they'll give you a visa for that. And I think Korea and Japan have that. I think Spain and Portugal have that as well. Not sure. You can be famous. I don't know if anyone's famous in this class. I apologize. I can't see the list and I'm not really good with like celebrities. But you can have, if you have won a Grammy or something, you can get a visa and live in many countries wherever you want in the world. Talent is a different thing. You can be talented and not famous. We all know that. You can also apply to some countries with a talent visa because they want talented people in their countries to bring intelligence, to bring training, to train their local people. And of course, to make businesses there and, increase their GDP. So that also exists in England, but also other countries as well. Next, you have innovation and business starting visas. So England is one, Spain is one, UAE, Dubai, you can move to Dubai, have a tax-free business, and they'll give you a visa to start your business there. And something I've noticed in Dubai is that there's support systems for you to start your business. So the royals have wanted to push their country as being innovative. And what they've done is they funded this. There's basically like these like Kickstarter programs that they've made for women, for expats, for immigrants, like however they want to call people who are new to their country, to start a business there located in their country. Next, you have study. Study visas are super easy to get. I mean, I talk about that in a second, but yeah, we'll go into that. Ancestry. I don't know you guys. I don't know where you're from, but many people in the US and Australia and like newer places like, I don't know, I guess South Africa, there are places where there's a lot of immigrant communities. You may have an immigrant in your ancestry that is recent enough to qualify you for citizenship in the country they came from. So, for example, for me, my family's from Cuba. They moved to Cuba in like the 1850s, 1870s. So it's a little too far back for me. It's my mom's grandmother. No, my mom's great grandfather. So she qualifies. So she would get a Spanish citizenship through her ancestry, and then I get it from her. Not every country does that, but a lot of countries do. I think it's called jus sanguini. It's I think an Italian term, but it means that it's like your family heritage. Every country is different. Look into where you're from and figure out if you can do that. Also, if you have a spouse who has the same situation, they can bring you with them. And this is the case actually for most of these visas. A spouse or dependents can come with you, of course. What was I going to say in addition to that on that visa? Oh, right. If you are from Latin America or any country that Spain previously colonized, they are apologizing by allowing us all to come back. So if you have a citizenship in anywhere like Latin American or even the Philippines, then you are entitled to come to Spain and live and work here. And then after 2 years, you'll get citizenship. So that's a really cool one to know that a lot of people don't know about. Let's see what else. Retirement. You don't have to be retirement age. You just have to have the right amount of money. Again, differs for every country. Investment. You have to have a big chunk of money and you just throw it down, invest in a business, or maybe buy a house, and then you can live in that country. Refugee asylum. I don't think that applies to the US. It's an option. That's what my family did, but yeah, I don't know. That one takes a long time as well, and there's obviously huge waiting lists. So I don't think that's like really for us at this point. Marriage, like I said, marriage can get you places. I don't recommend just like marrying someone, of course, off the street. I once had somebody offer to marry me to switch citizenships with me. It's an extremely risky situation. It's super illegal and obviously unethical because you're clogging up the system for people that are really getting married. Like in Sweden, it takes 2 years to get your partner into Sweden. to bring them with you, even your kids. So a little sad. And then, of course, there's the worst option, which is no visa, which we will talk about as well. Okay, first one, work visa route. It's just like job hunting, but you're just doing it in another place. You'll need to, I recommend you contact a local lawyer or business professional if you're interviewing somewhere, and like kind of tell them about the situation so they can get a like idea of how legitimate it is. I've definitely dealt with something that was a little, it was legitimate, but it was very, how should I say this? I will not say anything. I had a bad situation I was in. Um, and so these local experts know what's legal, know what's right, know what you should be entitled to in that country. And it's completely different. It's completely different everywhere. I think they'll tell you this in school. Never agree to a salary or even salary range until you really know about the role more, you research the company, and you see like what the other people at the company are making, and like research like what is the cost of houses in that area or renting, um, stuff like that. And then this one's a little, because you have to do the research. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you to look and see if you can do it. If there's something fishy going on in many countries, you can record it. You can record the interview, the conversation, because as long as in some places, as long as people are willingly in a conversation, it can be recorded. So I would consider doing that, even if it's not admissible in court. You have evidence if you do an HR report, for example, which I did at one point, and we'll talk about that. And then tax software, and yeah, look at local taxes in the area. There are websites for every country where you can check the taxes. So you can check if what you're making will amount to enough to have like a good quality of life for what you feel like you want. This one's a little rough. This is serious, right? Moving abroad under mysterious circumstances is not recommended. You need to be very clear about all of the details of your job and your move. This is a big issue in many countries. It's high stakes. You're moving your entire life. You're trusting somebody with your safety. And then the last line here, there are cultural differences that isn't as serious, but it is a risk because it can be really uncomfortable when you don't really know how to act in that country or that job in that country. So this is a risk that you need to calculate and think about before you jump into a new job abroad. Personal story time. Hinted at this. This is actually one of the reasons I wanted to do this talk with you guys. I wanted to warn you about what to look out for because there were things that I didn't know until a few months ago. I almost got taken advantage of by a potential employer who is somebody you all know. It was horrendous. It was so bad that one of their employees asked me to file an HR report against the people that were taking advantage of me. So I don't know how much detail to get into, but there were things that were happening that were not legal in that country. Certainly not good, definitely shady. But luckily, I knew someone from that country who was like a serial entrepreneur, a family friend. And I talked to him about the situation. He made some spreadsheets to show me like what was going on from his expert perspective. And it was not a good deal. And there are red flags you can watch out for, which we're going to cover now. In any job, but especially when you're picking up to move across the world. So upfront fees, you never pay for a job ever. That's just anywhere. Vague job descriptions, that's just like a kind of like a catch-all so that people can have more responses and more people to scam or take advantage of. Something that's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. If you think it is, do some digging. And in my case, it did sound too good to be true because there was a bait and switch, and it was not nice. It was not good. Unprofessional communication, sloppiness, or Like in my situation, they made fun of Americans at one point to my face during the interview process, which for a giant corporation is obviously very unprofessional, but also like a big red flag. You don't want to work with someone like that, especially if you're like trapped working for them. You're on a work visa. If you quit or get fired or whatever, you have to leave the country, sometimes right away. So you have to be super sure and very careful going into these jobs. Um, no interview process, of course. The urgency ploy, always pop a red flag. If anyone's ever like, you have to do this right now, do it right now. That's always something that you need to be very careful about, especially when you're moving country. Um, always do background checks on the company and the people interviewing you and the emails they're using. No relocation assistance isn't necessarily like a sign of a scam, but more legitimate companies and offers will consider the fact that you should have help when you're moving abroad. And so, or even across the country. In the US, it's so big, you do need relocation assistance. So you don't want that to affect your work life. You're going to need help, basically. If they're scared of lawyers, they were scared of lawyers. When I was interviewing with them, I mentioned that I had a lawyer. Of course I do. I live abroad at this point. You need one for visas. And I said, lawyer, you don't need a lawyer. Like just like really knee jerk. And I was just like, why are you so scared of lawyers? This seems a little fishy. And it was because they were scared and they dodged and deflect a lot of investigative questions that I had about the role and the situation. So these are some red flags for anyone to watch out for in any job hunting scenarios, but especially when you're moving abroad. Another fun tidbit related. I almost had a project with Rihanna, legitimately. However, it was a little too vague. There wasn't like an NDA, there wasn't like any sort of agreement. And so I just decided not to because I felt uncomfortable. And that's okay. If you miss an opportunity, I feel like it's better than just giving away work for free to somebody. So it wasn't her, by the way. I don't want to shade Rihanna, love her stuff, but it was just like she has a corporation, right? So that's more of the situation. Okay, this is a different route. Moving on. The design or art residency route, which I don't think we learn about in Castellon Beach. I learned about it from my roommate Tayali, because growing up, her parents were artists and she grew up going from art residency to art residency with them. And let's see, they're basically like programs for a certain amount of time where you go. It's kind of like a go away camp. Like when you're little, some people's parents, not mine, sent them to like a camp and you'd stay with other people and like do your thing, whatever that was, music camp or art camp, whatever it was. It's kind of like that. But a lot of the times for these, they're very specific. So I don't think I have one here, but they'll have like ceramics or like audiovisual or like the one we did in Iceland was light. You had to be a light artist. So we used projection art and technically the infrared with the scanner. And then they're all over the world. I feel like, I don't know if this is wrong or not. You'll have to look into this. I feel like the ones in the US, you have to pay for your room and board typically. I don't think a lot of places have enough or any investment into the arts. Whereas a lot of places in Europe, Asia, Africa, there'll be like government grants that are given to art communities to help bring creatives to their area, to kind of like, again, brain gain, like so this village in Iceland is way up north. You saw on the map, like hours and hours away from the capital. I think there are a few hundred people in the town, and those kids, like you had to agree to work with the kids at one point, if they wanted to. The children elect whether or not they want to like work with whatever art you're doing. And so those kids are getting like a world-class artist education and artist exposure. And so are the people in the village because there's consistently art shows for them and artists there teaching them new things. So it really is good for the community, but I think more popular in other countries. So you can use certain websites like ArtsRes or ResArt. Res Artist? I don't really know. I forget, but I did find mine on here. I've only used it a few times. Apologies. And then there are plenty of ways to show you how to apply to these residencies on the internet. You just have to look. There's YouTube videos, there's, influencers, there's articles on different blogs on the internet. And that is basically how we got in. I had heard about them and we technically could apply to this one with a concept because of what the theme was, light. And so we just tried it and we got in. That one was free. So we just had to pay for the flight there and our food, but we had a nice, warm, cozy house in the middle of Iceland. Okay. And then I actually want to show you guys how that app works. Can I do it here? No, I can't do it. Okay, you're gonna have to look by yourself. But write that name down, Res Artists. It's really cool. It's interactive. You can choose what language it's in, what country, what region, if it's free, if you get free food, if there's like a metal workshop, if you want to do like metal sculpture or clay sculpture. It's really cool. I found some really cool residencies on there that I was going to show you, like one in Kenya that was in a wildlife reserve, which looked amazing. And then there was one in South Korea, which was really cool. I think that one was longer. It was a few months. And then there is one that I want to tell you about in a place that I used to live. When I first moved to London, I lived in a co-living place. And they are doing with Dazed magazine, which is sort of like a creative like blog or magazine. They are partnering up to give, I think it's 8 artists, but they're sometimes flexible. They'll let in more people sometimes. So you can live in this posh London neighborhood that I actually did live next door to. And it is a really cool area, right on like one of those canals with like the trees hanging over and stuff. Right by Notting Hill too. And they have these like studios there. So you can live there for 2 months for free. It's due Saturday, unfortunately. Your pitch to them would be due Saturday, but you have, 2 days to do it. If you work, I know you can do it because you're, design students from Cal State Long Beach. But this is what it looks like. There's a spa, there's a movie theater inside. This is what your apartment would look like, more or less. And at the end, there's an art show with media coverage. So you will get promoted by Days Magazine and other media sources. I don't know, which is a huge thing for some designers and artists and can help propel your career. So if you're ready for that, you want to do that, you can. You can also probably choose not to be in the media if you're not comfortable with that. But I think it's a really great opportunity. And this is during summer. So I think it's June 16th to like August 16th. That is the prime time to go to London. Okay. Picnics in the park. You can go to the beach. I was telling Wes and Shelly, I did go on a surf trip in London once, and there was absolutely no surf. I didn't know it was possible, but actually the water was completely flat. I should have included a video to show you guys. But it's a beautiful time to go to England. I really, really recommend applying to this one. I told them about you guys. So they are expecting some people to message them. You have to go to just Google this, Mason and Fifth Dazed Magazine, and you'll be able to apply using a type form. And then hopefully you have a portfolio or like a PDF, but you can just show them some of your work and you can do anything you want. Use your creativity. I did painting when I was little, so I've applied to some using painting. I also like to do ceramics, so I haven't applied to any for that yet, but maybe one day I will. Okay, studying route. This one is interesting. It's not exactly what you think. So I know it pains you to think about going and studying more when you're currently studying, or maybe you've done 5 or 6 years or more, and you're like, I'm so done with this program and studying. I just want to like be free. It's not the same. First of all, no offense, Shelly and Wes and the design team, but it was really hard. Our program is really intense for a good reason because you come out knowing so much. Yes, you come out just ready to take on the world. I do remember going head to head with a RISD designer and art center designers in the real world, and we are prepared so much in the Cal State Long Beach curriculum. When you look at this map, this chart here, this is the top 20 schools for art and design in the world. And let me see how I organize this one in my slides preview. Okay. Yeah, so if we zoom in, there's a little tiny bit of an animation here. Should be. Yeah. These are the ones not in the US. So number one is the Royal College of Art and Design. One of our, I don't know if it was just her, but Ivana, another grad from industrial design, went there when I was going to number two, the University of the Arts, London. You also have Politecnico di Milano. I think this one is the most expensive one, but still good. I have a friend that went there and he loved it. Aalto in Finland, named for a famous architect that some of you may know. Design Academy Eindhoven in Netherlands, Delft, TU Delft. I think this is one of the most famous industrial design schools in the world. And I think University of the Arts London maybe as well. And then you have some in Asia. You have, I don't know exactly how to pronounce this, and I apologize. I believe it's Tsinghua and Tongji, and then Nanyang in Singapore. Okay, and then you can go to this website as well. I don't remember the name. I think it's like, wait. Oh, wait. Maybe I can switch screens and you can see it. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, this is called QS World University Rankings. So yeah, this is art and design, and then yeah, I feel like it's something you're gonna have to explore yourself. But any of these schools, any school, like I applied to a school that was like in the hundreds somewhere in Malta. So I was considering moving to Malta for a year and a half for a creativity master's. It was about management and creativity. But I decided to go with London instead because it was a longer program and I had been to London already. So I knew that I was comfortable with moving there. But, anyways, you can do some research there and on Masters Portal. So, Masters Portal, you can do a bachelor's too, whatever you want to do. But I think masters are a little bit more lightweight compared to a bachelor's because they're meant to be sort of like a deeper dive on something that you're interested in, but it's not as comprehensive as a bachelor's where you'll have to take like, I don't know, like a math class, like the general ed stuff again. So let's see, let's do design and then where to study. Let's leave that open. Tuition fee. I think these are euros, so it'll be about the same in dollars. Let's do 25K. Um, in the US, it's way more expensive, by the way. Any of these top schools on that past screen in the US, I think it'll be like 1 to 200,000 just for the tuition, right? So some of these are going to be free even in some countries, and the courses are in English sometimes, so you do have to look at that too. But like, oh yeah, University of Malta, so free. What? It wasn't free when I was applying. And then, yeah, Norwegian University of Science and Technology ranked top 2%. And then you can click on them, and sometimes they do like majors, program structure. Oh, I don't have an account. Oh no. Oh, interesting. So this is like your specializations that you would look at. And then sometimes, I mean, I think if you're from certain countries, you don't need these. Like if you're from an English majority speaking country like the US, I don't think you need to do that. Like in London, they had that, but we didn't have to take it. And then I'll just quickly show you this as well. We'll do like a search for residencies for you guys so you can check it out. So these are all of the residencies registered to this website. We can go to a discipline here and let's just say visual arts. That's very broad. And let's do, a lot of them are rural as well, but there are some that are in cities. Accommodation, private apartment, residency fees, no. So there's 54 around the world where you have your own apartment and oh, look, the Azores. What is going on here? That's cool. So this is like what the house looks like, what the residency will look like. And then, oops, I went backwards. I hate that shortcut. Um, yeah, you can choose different time zone or time amounts. It's really cool. I really want you guys to check this out and look at it. If I could get into an art residency, you can, okay? Um, all right, back to this. Okay, we're gonna go forward a little bit. Yes. So fun morsel. Yeah, I went to number two. Um, this is a paper cutout of he's like our like we don't have it in the US, but he's somehow like a spokesperson, kind of like a mascot. And he's a really famous British comedian. I don't know his name. I didn't get that far into the lore, but yeah, this is me on my graduation day in London at the Royal Concert Hall, is what they called it. And this is what you're thinking. Like, you got into one of the top two art unis in the world. What? Like, it's hard, you know? Like, I feel like I'm acting a little blasé, but I promise you, you are extremely qualified to do probably any program you want in the creative field because you have learned in our design program, like, how to deconstruct a brief and how to respond to that brief and how to do the right research for it. So, in terms of applying to an art school, you can do it. Again, if I could do it, Wes and Shelly aren't going to say it, but I was a pretty average student. I'm telling the truth. Like I feel like I could present, but I was just kind of average. If I could get in, anyone could get in. Here's some of those top schools, by the way, the top 20, some of the campuses, just to give you like a sneak peek what it looks like in their lives. So this is the Royal College of Art. This is probably where Ivana studied. I'm not sure. This is my uni, UAL, but this is like the fanciest campus, which is super cool. They built on this like warehouse. This is a library. There aren't a lot of pictures online for some reason, but I also just skimmed, but it's beautiful inside. It's like a four-level thing and it looks, you know, like Edwardian factory turned into a cool library. This is the TU Delft library. I don't know why. I love libraries. I thought that was the coolest part of their campus. It's the Netherlands. It's gray and rainy all the time outside. So this was my favorite pick. This is that Italian school I told you about, Politecnico di Milano. This is the exterior. The interior is just as regal. Uh, Glasgow School of Art, unfortunately, their beautiful library burned down in a fire a little bit over a decade ago, and they've had some struggles rebuilding it. But they do also have a campus more in the countryside, and it looks like a beautiful wedding venue for some reason. Yeah, look at that. It's gorgeous. This is Aalto in Finland, cold, but you have free everything there because it's Finland and Scandinavia, so it makes up for it. Eindhoven, they didn't have a really nice campus. I feel like it was kind of like a warehouse, but they do make really good guest speaker posters. Hint, hint, guys. This is really good opportunity for some portfolio pieces. Someone should jump on that. This is one of the Beijing school, or this is the Beijing school. This is the Shanghai school, and this is the Singapore school. These are their design campuses. And yes, they all have courses in design in English. Okay, another example that is not a degree. You can study abroad, but not for a degree in like an accredited institution. You can learn yoga. You can learn Ayurveda, meditation. You can do certifications. You can do courses, culinary courses. A lot of places have visas for learning their local language, like Germany, France, Korea, Japan, Spain, Costa Rica, Thailand. And you can also do sports, dance, or martial arts in some countries and get a visa to live there for a certain amount of time. So if you're interested in a specific thing or a specific country, just look at what kind of visas they have and think about applying. Okay. And then financing. Some of these you can work when you are studying, some you can't. You just have to like kind of work with that and figure it out. You can qualify for FAFSA aid, especially if it's an accredited institution, like one of those schools. They would qualify for FAFSA. Mine did in London. So I got like a federal loan for all of my schooling and cost of living. And then there's also like different ways to repay abroad. Look into that. I will say no more on that topic. And then, yeah, it's really affordable, sometimes free, and you just pay cost of living. And again, as you've seen, cost of living in Europe and other countries can be much lower. It's probably much lower than it is there in Los Angeles, where you guys are. It's probably one of the most expensive countries in the world, or cities in the world. This is how much I paid for tuition for a 1.5 year MA program at the second best school in the world for design. And I got to stay there for 4 years, even though the program was 1.5 year. Well, it was like 3.5 years. Um, but I went back a little bit after my visa expired because I had to. I won't go into that story, but it's fine. You can be there for 4 years after, because they have a graduate visa, which means that after you study, you qualify for another visa, which is like that job hunting visa that I talked about earlier. But you can also work on it or start a business or whatever you want to do. And then, yeah, healthcare was super affordable. And I already covered that. This I'm not going to recommend to you. You may have heard about these, but I wouldn't do it. One, it's exhausting. Also, it's either illegal or gray area that I would never recommend anyone to live in. But you can do something called, or you shouldn't do something called a visa run, border hopping, the digital nomad life, or just being a perpetual tourist. I don't I don't think it's technically legal anywhere. So, and I mean, who wants to live out of a suitcase their whole life? It's not very great. But yeah, don't do this. Another fun tidbit: we went to the Olympics this summer, and it was really affordable. I think it was like 50 euros, $50 for a plane ticket. And then we stayed with a friend. So the staying there was free because when you live in these abroad communities, you meet people from all over. So this was our, oh no, this was not our friend's apartment. This was a restaurant where we saw this. But yeah, it was super affordable. The most expensive thing were the tickets to the events themselves. But these days, people aren't going as much to the Olympics. It would appear they had a lot of extra tickets for sale for like really cheap. So you could go for like $20, or some events were free. Like early in the morning, they had some like of those aquatic events in the Seine. They were free. You could just show up. All right, now helpful tidbits. These are the professionals I spoke of. So you do need an immigration lawyer in most cases. Um, Not always. Like there's a Dutch thing for Americans, and I think Australians as well, called the Dutch American Friendship Treaty. I think it applies to like other people too. It's called DAFT, which makes it a little funny and like easier to remember. But you don't need any professional there. You don't even need a business plan, but it's like you can go start a business in the Netherlands as long as you have like 5,000 euros in your business account the entire time. They consider you a successful business and you can stay indefinitely. You just renew, it's like every year, every 2 years. But like for Spain, you definitely need a lawyer. You need a visa lawyer because the system is different. It's very bureaucratic, lots of paperwork, lots of emails back and forth with the Spanish government. You're gonna need one. The good news is there maybe I think I met someone whose lawyer was like $500 for like retainer, like the entire visa process cost $500. Um, so that is totally possible. Um, you're gonna want accountants or investment professionals because when you move abroad, for Americans anyways, people don't want to do business with you because the IRS is like a really nosy brat and will go to other banks and like yell at them when they're working with Americans. I don't know financial stuff. I have no idea. But you need someone to help you, someone professional, and to help you file your taxes every year because you won't have to pay taxes most likely in the US when you're abroad, but you will have to file your taxes every year until you get rid of your citizenship if you ever do. But you do always have to file no matter where you live. There are relocation experts. One of my friends here in Barcelona is a school matching professional. So for immigrants, they contact her and they ask her, this is our situation. This is what we're looking for in a school. Where should we put our kids? And she'll give them like recommendations and set tours up with these schools. She works on a commission basis, so that is free. The schools pay her basically to bring clients to them. So that's really cool. You can hire a portfolio advisor. It's not someone who like does your work. It's someone who shows you how to display your work. You can also hire someone to like a copywriter to write your artist statement. They're really weird. It's like a really weird thing, an artist statement. Um, I used ChatGPT for mine when I did my art residency, but to each their own. I'm not sure. And then a concierge. That sounds weird. It sounds something like made up from like a princess movie, but this is a real type of professional that exists called a concierge, and they do whatever you need help with. They're really good at getting things done because they do this as their job. So if I'm like stuck on the phone because I don't know which phone number to call for a certain form in the Spanish government, we have someone local here who we like contract her for an hour, which is like $15. And she figures it out and she gets it done. And it's done. $15, that little paperwork, whatever it is sorted because she knows how things work. She knows them personally after working on in this field for so long. And they can help with, I mean, it's like an executive assistant, which is like, but for hire, for hourly hire. And so it's like, sometimes people use them to do their dry cleaning. We use one to help find a house because the rental market here is so awful. So we paid her like, I think $50 for a few hours of like looking at flats and booking us appointments and telling us what documents we needed. So that was a really interesting hack that I learned. Community. This is important everywhere you go. You may be scared to go alone somewhere. It's going to be okay. There are so many people in this like bubble of immigrants and expats. I hate Facebook like the rest of us, but they do have a lot of very specific groups. Like I guess there's a talent visa in Australia. I don't know. And so there's groups about that. Um, Grace wants to get out of Australia, but if you want to get into Australia, you can do it. There's digital nomad groups. There's spouse visas that you need like specific help with. Americans moving to Spain, Americans in Spain, international families. Like there's so many Facebook groups for every city or visa type. It's wild. So if you ever need help from like people who've been through the same thing as you, this is a really good way to find them. And yeah, they're really nice people. I've made friends off of these groups. One of my best friends here I met from this group. She's an American as well, and and her partner actually were both Apple and Microsoft like ex employees. So they're really cool people. They're not random weird people. It's like kind of just like a catch-all of people who creatively problem solve. Okay, renting too. Renting, it's different in every country and it's weird. Like I remember when I lived in Korea, you had to pay, I think, the entire year up front. So it'd be like you have to pay like $10,000 like to get an apartment to rent, which not everyone can do. Now they've invented this thing called co-living, where you have your own like micro studio or studio apartment, or sometimes like a small apartment. Here's another one, and it comes with amenities, like it comes with a garden. This is the one that I showed you earlier. It comes with workspaces and like exercise stuff, and they plan events like social events. You're going to also meet like-minded international people there, so it's a really easy way to make friends. Some of my best friends I met, and like future roommates I met at co-living. And I did it in London I always recommend it like when you first get somewhere. So I did it when I first got to London, saved me during COVID. And then I did it here in Spain with my boyfriend when we moved here. And I think for your age group, like the younger age group, it's really good. I think once you're like 30 and up, it gets sort of like you're borderline like one of the older people doing this, but it's still fine. They'll still like allow you in their social group. But from my perspective, they're going to be talking like I don't know. I'm not a Gen Z, but I can't understand everything that you guys say because it's just a completely new culture and age group. Okay. Recap. I missed a slide here. I see now. I think I accidentally hit it. But if you're interested in moving abroad, the first thing I recommend is to get a passport. Very obvious. Get your passport done. Get it out of the way. Just have it. It lasts for 10 years. Why not? What if you win a prize? Like a call in on a radio station and win a concert ticket in Brazil, like just get your passport. Number two, some of these you need to do a background check. So you need to supply it to them. So you have to apply through the FBI for an FBI background check. And more than likely, it'll come back clean, or sometimes I didn't experience this, very lucky. It'll detail like what crime it was, like if you like, I don't know, jaywalked or something and like got a ticket for it or whatever. And so like the country will analyze that and be like, are we okay with jaywalkers? Probably yes, because it's not really illegal in a lot of countries in that case. But just get those two things done first and foremost, and also start looking at saving money because you do have to have like a little chunk in your account to, put a deposit down, like in the co-living or buy your plane ticket. So stop being American and buying cute stuff. I know I make my money off of people doing that as an industrial designer, but just try to just do like buy nothing month and just save. You guys make a lot of money. If you just not spend it, it is easier to save. And you are students, so I recognize that you might not make like a salary yet, but still try to save wherever you can so that you can save up for moving abroad. Oh no, you can't show you this meme. I got this awesome meme. It says, I'm not delusional, I'm manifesting. And that's what I want you guys to do. I feel like when I want something, I think about it and how to get to it. I don't know if that's manifesting, but I usually get what I want. And I think a lot of us are capable of doing that. And so it doesn't have my other meme either. This is such a tragedy. I'm manifesting for you guys. So if you want this, I'm manifesting that you will also be able to move abroad. And unfortunately, that's my last slide. It doesn't even work. But that's it. And we can open this up for questions. And thank everyone. Thank you for listening.